play caller for the Titans. Lots of change this week for the Tennessee Titans. We have a texter 2438 saying, even with Stingley out, the Texans have an elite DB in Kamari Lassiter. Lassiter is just as elite as Stingley, if not better. Feel like that's a stretch, and I'm looking back at previous texts. Think you're a Georgia fan, so that would check out.
Lassiter's good.
Lassiter's good. No,
but he's very young.
Right.
He's very young.
I look at the depth chart and I'm like, all right, they got Stingley and Lassiter. That is a great 1-2 punch at corner. But like, I'm sorry, Derek Stingley may have been the second best cornerback in football behind the defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, last year. So to say Lassiter is better than Stingley, that's a stretch at this moment. Eventually, maybe, but not right now. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Plenty to get to on the Titans. We will come back and we will talk about the moves this week. The Titans have made some big moves, whether that's with the coaching, the roster. Did these moves change your long-term outlook on the Titans? Brian Callahan said this week, his response to the Jarvis Brownlee trade was they made this move with short-term and long-term goals in mind. Did these moves this week change your long-term outlook for the team? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Friday. Looking for a good spot to watch NFL games on Sunday? Then you should come to Twin Peaks and Cool Springs, home of the 29-degree beer, and join 1025 The Game for the pregame show before the Titans take on the Texans. Pregame show is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Old National Bank, Circus Sportsbook Kentucky, and Tennessee Brew Works. Talking Titans ahead of the matchup with Houston on Sunday. Both teams trying to avoid an 0-4 start. Can the Titans get their first win since the last time they faced the Texans in Houston last November? Titans have made some big changes this week. First up, Tuesday, right around the time we were getting off the air, right around noon, Brian Callahan announced that he was giving up play calling, and Bo Hardegree was going to be the play caller moving forward. Brian Callahan wanting to focus more on the overarching view of this team. Being the CEO, he said that he's been in more defensive meetings, more special teams meetings. And then just a few hours later, the Titans trade Jarvis Brownlee to the New York Jets for a late round pick swap. And my question is, do some of these moves maybe change your long-term outlook on the Titans? Because for me, and we were talking with TD about this yesterday, about how the window for the Titans getting better has felt like it lines up with the new stadium, right? Like 2027, this team wants to be playoff contenders. This year, they may not be very good. And nothing that happened this week changed my thoughts on how this team is going to be this year. They're going to be bad. But I thought next year there would be steeper improvement. And I think the moves the Titans have made this week show me that maybe they're further away from being good than I thought they were. And it can happen fast in the NFL. Everybody knows that. If you get the quarterback and you can start to build the roster around him while he's on the rookie deal, it can get better quickly. But it seems like Callahan's on his way out. You're going to have to start over with a new coach next year. And I think that the giving up of play calling signals that, like, this is a last-ditch effort trying to save his job. And then you trade away a talented young player who you hit on in the 5th round. And I know there's other stuff going on there because they wouldn't have given him up for that little if there wasn't. But you also just added another hole to this team that you felt like you weren't going to have to worry about. There's just so many holes on this team. You're going to have a new coach. I'm wondering if maybe this is a rebuild that you're looking at 2028, 2029 before this team is back in the playoffs instead of 2 years, which would be tough because if Cam Ward is the guy, by the time the roster might be good enough to match him, you're going to have to pay him an extension. So the window looks like it's going to have to take a little bit of a delay here based on what we've seen from this team so far this year.
You know me, I believe quarterback is the most important position in sports, and it looks like early returns that the Titans have that guy. And I was telling George Plaster this week that Cam Ward had to learn 3 different offenses in college. And if he has to learn a different offense, if Brian Callahan ends up being fired sooner rather than later, which we all think is going to happen, he's done that before. But then the caveat is this is the NFL, and this is not college football anymore. You may be able to get away with some things in college, but the NFL is a much different level, and we're seeing that with guys like Marvin Harrison, who we thought was going to be a bona fide superstar. Caleb Williams, what he capitalized on in college was out of structure, creating. When you get to the NFL, you have to learn how to play within the structure. So for Cam Ward, he's probably going to have to learn a new offense. How is that going to look?
Yes. And we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Is Brian Callahan going to make it through the season? Maybe this is a move that at least buys him enough time to get through the season. I don't see a path for him to be the head coach coming up in 2026. Now, I did hear our good friend Adam from Portland called in to Robbie and Rex Road and said he thinks the Titans are going to win all 3 of these games on the road trip. I mean, if that happened, who knows where this goes?
Adam said that?
Adam said that.
Really?
The biggest Callahan hater out there.
Oh my gosh, that surprises me.
I believe his reasoning was, I want Callahan gone, so of course the Titans are going to do something that makes that not happen. So I don't know how this is going to go with Callahan. Does he make it through the season? Is he let go at the end of the year? I think it's more than likely that he is probably not going to be on the sidelines for week 1 next year. But I just look at this roster and I don't really know how you get the talent level to rise as fast as they needed to. I know they've got cap space, but let's look at the free agent class next year. Like free agency in the NFL seems to be getting worse and worse. Like nobody's letting their good players get out anymore. And it's like, if you're getting some guys, it's marginal or they're older. Like here's some of the most valuable free agents on the market coming up this year. Trey Hendrickson. I don't know if Trey Hendrickson fits your timeline. Like he's going to be 31 by the time next year starts. And do you really want to pay for a guy who's probably only going to be around for a year or two? I don't think Mike Evans leaves the Buccaneers. I mean, he's expected to be a free agent. I really don't see him leaving the place he spent 12 years of his career. Christian Kirk, Khalil Mack, Deebo Samuel, Travis Kelce is a free agent after this year. He's going to retire most likely. Like there's not a whole lot of free agents out there that move the needle. Sure, maybe you could go get a veteran tight end if you want somebody to go alongside Gunnar Helm, and maybe that's Mark Andrews or David Njoku. But there's just nobody out there that I'm looking at on this free agent list that it's like, yeah, that's where your $126 million of cap space is going to go. And as of now, the Titans draft picks in 2026, they don't have a ton of high draft capital. It's not like they've traded away a whole bunch, but here's what they've got after the Jarvis Brownlee trade. You have a first, a second, a third, a fourth, 2 sixths, and a seventh. You don't have a fifth. So it's not like you're just rolling in draft capital either. That's why I wonder if maybe a fire sale is the only option here at the deadline. Again, there's been debate over what you could get for Jeffrey Simmons. I think there might be somebody desperate enough to send a first for Jeffrey, but maybe a 2 for Jeff Simmons. If you could get a 4 for Calvin Ridley, that starts to make your draft capital look better, and that's before maybe you trade down in the draft. I just think the only way this team is going to start to fill in these holes is what they've been telling us: draft, develop, retain. But right now, you don't really have a whole lot of premium draft capital to go out and make this team better in 1 year, because for the 4th straight year, you have too many holes to fill with the capital that you have available to you.
Which leads me back to the question, why was Jarvis Brownlee traded? He was a young player. He was a starter. Yes, he did struggle with penalties. Yes, he was very feisty, but that was just his style of game. And I know Denard Wilson was annoyed by it. And since Brian Callahan didn't give anything away at his media availability, we're just led to assume that there were maybe some off-the-field issues, maybe some locker room wasn't, I guess, just again, like I said, annoying Denard Wilson with all the penalties, and that's setting a bad example for the other players. But for Mike Bergonzi, early returns are he's hit on Chimdike, he's hit on Gunnar Helm, hit on Alec Aomenor, and of course hit on Cam Ward. So that at least gives some hope, some encouragement to the fans that he can continue to put together more good drafts. But again, like you said, the Titans need more of that capital. So if you're starting a fire sale, why in the world would you start with Jarvis Brownlee?
Yeah, because again, he was a young, controllable guy, and the Titans have done a nice job this week of keeping everything in-house. Nobody has said anything to make you think otherwise, but, you know, if it stinks, it's probably what you think it is, right? Like when there's smoke, there's fire.
If it walks like a duck,
it's probably a duck. Yeah. Quacks like a duck. I don't know what went on there, and I don't know if we ever will, but it was a strange trade, and you didn't get much back for it. You didn't even net a pick. If you want to add draft capital, you're going to have to trade some of your veteran guys. And, you know, TD and I went through the exercise yesterday of who on this team currently do you think is going to be part of a winning team moving forward, whether that's 2027, 2028. Came up with 7 guys, and honestly, I wasn't 100% convinced on 3 of them. Like, the only guys that I feel good about being on this team when they start winning again are Ward, Skoronski, Latham, Aomenor. Based on what we've seen on the field, I think those are the only guys that I'm like, yeah, if this team's going to be good in the next 3 years, those guys are going to be a part of it. Gunnar Helm, Femi Oladejo, Kevin Winston were the other guys that we looked at. But can you go turn a team around with just 7 guys? No, you need You need at least like 15 of those guys that you feel like are key core players on your team and are going to elevate you back to the playoff conversation. And right now, you don't have the premium capital to go out and get 8 guys this offseason. And again, this is kind of dumbing it down. Obviously, it's positional and you have to find out guys who fit in your system, but you need to find more elite players because you do not have those guys that are going to elevate and make plays for you when you need it most. And I think the only way to add that draft capital is going to be to trade down. You're going to need some help with that. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have any thoughts, you can text or call. We'd love to hear from you. Adam in Portland texting in. The only reason you make that trade is the same reason you make the A.J. Brown trade, flexing on a young, mad player. So instead of pulling him aside, you figure it's easier to let him know who's boss. No other explanation. It's different. It's different. Like A.J. Brown
They're not
was
the same caliber player.
AJ Brown was asking for $100 million. Like, and clearly John Robinson didn't want to give it to him. It was a mistake, of course, but like whole different situation. We don't know what happened with Jarvis Brownlee, but if they're willing to give up on a guy who had 3 more or 2.5 more cheap, controllable years on his contract and was a capable player for you, clearly there was something else going on. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. The Blue Raiders will take on Kennesaw State tomorrow at 5 p.m. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3 with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Friday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. The Vanderbilt Commodores will take on Utah State tomorrow at First Bank Stadium. Pregame begins at 10 a.m. on 102.5 The Game with kickoff at 11:45. Vanderbilt football is brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Friday, getting you set for a weekend full of football. We'll talk some college football later on in the show. Plenty of Titans, and our Monday headlines coming up at 11:30. I've not been very good at predicting what's going to happen over the weekend. We will see if I can get one right today. Before we get back into some big picture talk about the Titans, Jim Wyatt just announcing via release on the Titans website, the Titans have promoted tackle Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson to the team's 53-man roster on Friday. Reading this release, and again, this is just speculation, I think he's going to start at right tackle on Sunday.
You're probably right.
I mean,
I'm probably right.
I'm reading the release, and it's kind of listing all of his accomplishments, and then at the end, Titans right tackle J.C. Latham hasn't played since week 1 because of a hip injury, and he hasn't yet practiced this week. Could be wrong, could just be a depth addition, but I don't know why you wouldn't just elevate him if he wasn't going to play on Sunday. So Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson on the 53-man roster. We will see if he is the first one out starting at right tackle on Sunday, and maybe Brian Callahan will be able to shed some light on that when he speaks later today. We were talking about the long-term core for this team, and how do they build up enough young, talented pieces to get back into playoff contention? And I went through the players that me and TD talked about yesterday of the 7 that we think are probably part of the core. And we got a couple of questions about Sweat, T'Vondre Sweat. And I want to remind people what Teron Davenport said yesterday is that he doesn't even know if T'Vondre Sweat's going to be on the team next year. And again, this is all early, but that's what TD said on the air yesterday.
I must have tuned out during that part because my eyes just got really wide.
Yeah, no, me too. I'll see if maybe we can find the clip coming up later in the show, but that is what TD said. And he said it's injury stuff, and he had a good connection with Rand and some of the other guys in that front office. So T'Vondre Sweat, I'm not 100% sure based on TD's comments. And again, I don't think TD has any inside information here. I think it's just speculation based on the way things have gone in year 2. I don't know if we can be confident that he is going to be around the Titans when they get back to winning, hopefully sooner rather than later. In order to build this core, we saw it back in 2016 when the Titans traded out of the first overall pick. You've got to get a king's ransom. And that means a lot of losing has to happen, first of all. This team needs to be in position to trade out of a pick. And there has to be a quarterback there who is worthy of taking. And right now, those are both question marks. Maybe less of a question mark of whether the Titans are going to keep losing. I feel pretty good about that. But in order to get somebody to come up and give you the picks that you would need to start to accelerate this rebuild, there's got to be someone there worth taking. And it is so funny how much a month can change things. Because a month ago, the college football season hadn't started yet. And we literally had this conversation of if the Titans end up with a top 5 pick, they could be rolling in draft capital because there are so many quarterbacks that are worthy of taking in the top 10. And all of them have not gotten off to a good start this year.
Yeah, you could go out and get a defensive player and maybe a receiver. If you can somehow get 2 picks in the first round, plenty of good receivers to take next year, plenty of good edge rushers, defensive tackles, whatever. Plenty of good players. I'm definitely in favor of that.
Right. And I do think that I've seen the early mock drafts. And again, I hate to be talking about the draft in September. Said this with TD yesterday too. But the Titans are kind of mocked in the 3 to 4 range right now based on their record because there are a lot of 0-3 teams. And all of the mock drafts I've seen have them taking Reuben Bain out of Miami or Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State.
Hey, Reuben Bain is the real deal.
I would
He's the real deal.
If you don't get a trade offer that's going to change the outlook of this team, change the trajectory of this rebuild, then run to the podium and take Reuben Bain based on what I've seen in the first 4 weeks, because that dude is a beast on the edge.
I honestly think he's the best player in college football right now. Not even kidding.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen so far, and again, it's only September, but he has risen up draft boards faster than anybody this year. And honestly, if you're not picking first overall based on the way the quarterbacks are playing, you may not get a chance to take Reuben Bain. It's early. Again, lots to do before the draft, which is 7 months away, and we are already talking about it. Mike in Lebanon says, Mike in Lebanon, excuse me.
Lebanon?
I know.
We have listeners all the way out there?
Sorry, I was watching a video yesterday, and they were actually talking about the country Lebanon, and I mixed up my Tennessee pronunciation there.
All good.
Mike,
it's the same way with Lafayette and Lafayette.
Right. It's I'm getting used to these things.
Uh-huh.
I always thought it was Smyrna too. Smyrna. Mike in Lebanon says, I'm already keeping my eye on tankathon.com. Honestly, it's not a bad idea. The Titans 0-3, heading on a 3-game road trip. This team could be right in contention for the number 1 overall pick again, which I heard Chase and Big Joe talking about it yesterday. It's only happened 6 or 7 times in history. Last time was the Jaguars in 2020 and 2021 when they took Trevor Lawrence and Trayvon Walker. I think Reuben Bain helps you a lot, and hopefully it would be the elite edge rusher that you haven't had since what? Javon Curse? Like, is that the last elite pass rusher from the edge that the Titans have had?
Sounds about right.
I mean, I'm obviously
trying to rack my brain right now.
They took Derek Morgan in the first round, but he was always kind of just a guy.
He was good.
Really good player. Like, he got a second contract here. Capable player on the edge, but not a guy that teams game plan around. You brought in Brian Arakpo, kind of the same thing. Harold Landry was a good pass rusher, but you could get the elite pass rusher. But man, you'd love to trade back and just get a boatload of picks, just like you did in 2016. And you saw how fast that turned things around. Obviously, there were other moves in there. You bring in DeMarco Murray, you signed some free agents, but you also are able to draft Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard and Jack Conklin and Corey Davis the next year. And I know Corey Davis didn't live up to the hype, but Corey Davis was a competent receiver for you for his time here in Tennessee. He was a starting level receiver. You were able to bring in all those guys that helped you make those playoff runs. I think the only way this team is able to turn things around and be a playoff contender in 2027, 2028 is if you can get those picks in a trade back. And so Titans fans, start rooting on Saturdays. You know, I know everybody's got their college football teams. Start rooting for these quarterbacks to start proving that they can be NFL players. This weekend, look for Drew Aller and Dante Moore to just have a shootout in Happy Valley and light up the scoreboard in front of all those scouts. Root for Carson Beck in a couple of weeks to light up next week to light up Florida State. You need some of these quarterbacks to prove they can be top 5 capable, because if you have a top 5 pick, the best thing for this team is to just trade out of it and pick up a ton of picks now that you have the quarterback. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, we'd love to hear from you. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Gil from California is on the line. Gil, thanks for calling. What you got for us this morning?
Hey, how's it going, y'all? I just wanted to elaborate on what I think I don't know. I mean, even if we do tank, do you guys have trust that this organization can get it right with the coach to go with the picks to where we don't get rid of the coach and now we get another coach and it's not his pick? I just think everything starts from up top. And it comes to Amy, and I just feel that Amy, she's more like, I've seen her when she came to California a couple of times, and she's a lovely person. She's nice, but it's like she's like a fan to me. Like, she's not involved with the team as much as I feel she should be, and they just tell her whatever, and then we get our up top is just all like disorganized, and that was the same thing that went on with the Lakers. And I would like to see her team up with another billionaire or somebody that's a football guru to get the right staff in to where at least without a cap, we can have the best football program to where I know they can get things right. You have to think about it. We needed a left tackle. We got a right tackle. We get our coaches. We switching coaches. And I just don't think the up top management and the decisions that they're making would even do us any justice if we did have the first pick.
Thanks for the call, Gil. I get what you're saying, but all of the decisions the Titans make from here on out are going to be in the best interest of Cam Ward. And I think They believe they have the quarterback. And I trust Mike Borgonzi based on what we've seen so far from him. I think he is going to be able to pick players that can help improve this team. But you are right in that they have to go find a head coach. If it's not Brian Callahan, which I think most people would make the guess that it's not, you got to go out and get a guy who can develop Cam Ward and can be the leader of this team to get them back into playoff contention. And I know they're not sexy picks, but if you're looking at guys who are probably going to be the Titans head coach next year, look at Mike McCarthy, look at Matt Nagy. Like, I think those are two very possible, probable picks. Now, it could be Cliff Kingsbury. It could be somebody younger, but I think they're going to want somebody with experience. You know, the pendulum always swings back, and I think they're going to want someone with head coaching experience. Mike McCarthy and Matt Nagy. I think those are your most likely picks for the Titans if they decide to move on from Brian Callahan. And I don't think they'd be horrible picks.
No, I'm interested to see Mike Borgonzi if he gets his pick at a head coach, because he didn't choose Brian Callahan.
Right.
If he gets his pick at a head coach, who would he pick? And honestly, this is just a little skeptical of me, but I'm nervous about if the Titans were to hire Cliff Kingsbury, because I watched how he coached at Texas Tech. I watched how he coached with the Arizona Cardinals. There's no doubt that he's one of those offensive gurus, but again, will he be the play caller? And if he's the play caller as a head coach, how has that worked out so far with Brian Callahan? I'm very skeptical of that.
Yep. It's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Titans if Brian Callahan makes it through the season. If not, we'll see what the Titans elect to do as they try and get this team back into contention. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's get into some of the big NFL games this weekend. Chiefs-Ravens coming up on Sunday. Both those teams 1-2. Winner gets to get back to 500. Loser falls into a hole early on in the season. Who needs that win more? We'll talk about that next. Tomorrow's college football game of the week is Oregon versus Penn State at 6:30 on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circus Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, getting you set for an exciting weekend of football. Lots of big games tomorrow. Titans taking on the Texans on Sunday, but some more exciting games coming up Sunday as well. Chiefs and Ravens is one of them. AFC battle between two preseason Super Bowl contenders. They're still Super Bowl contenders, but they're 1-2. And one of those teams is going to be 1-3. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have kind of had Lamar Jackson's number during his career. But I have a feeling the Ravens are going to win this game. I think the Ravens, I don't know if the Ravens need it more, but I think the Ravens are going to win this game. That offense is explosive. The defense has had its struggles. I mean, you give up 40 plus to the Lions and the Bills, but I think this is a Ravens team that is just more talented than the Chiefs. And Mahomes, he steps it up in the playoffs when it matters most, but I think Mahomes is going to be 1-3, and that spells trouble in Kansas City.
Yeah, I was looking at this game too, and if you would have told me in the preseason that either the Chiefs or the Ravens would be 1-3 after week 4, I would have laughed in your face. This is crazy that this is going to be the outcome of the game, but I'm with you. I think the Chiefs, especially their receivers, their offensive line is not great. They just don't have they're having issues that they haven't had in previous years. Meanwhile, the Ravens, yeah, they've struggled too. They're 1-2 at this point, but I feel like they're the more complete roster. It is an Arrowhead, so that kind of makes you wonder, but I am leaning Ravens right now as well.
You look at this Chiefs schedule, if you ask the question who needs a win this weekend more, I think it's for sure Kansas City, because not only do you play Baltimore, let's say you lose that one, you're 1-3. So that's 3 losses. You still have to play the Lions, the Commanders, at Buffalo. You play Denver twice. You play LA again. Like the losses could add up pretty quickly for this team. Again, I'm not doubting Patrick Mahomes. I think there's always, when you have him, you have a shot in every single game. But it's trending in a bad direction for the Chiefs. Whereas you look at the Ravens schedule, and they still have a ton that division's not very good. The Steelers are going to be fine, and I think they're going to end up in the Mike Tomlin sweet spot of 8-9 or 9-8. But the Bengals without Joe Burrow clearly aren't very good. We saw what they just did against the Vikings this past week. And the Browns, I mean, they're one of the worst teams in football, even though they beat the Packers this past weekend. So after the Chiefs, you look at what the Ravens have. The Texans are 0-3. Yeah, they play the Rams, but they've got the Bears, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Jets, the Bengals. Like this is a Ravens team that I think is going to peak down the stretch because the schedule is going to ease up on them. They've gotten off to a really brutal start, having to face the Bills, the Lions, the Chiefs in the first 4 weeks. Now, the Chiefs have had a tough start too with the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Ravens. But it just looks like the Ravens, their schedule gets easier as the season goes along, and the Chiefs still have some really tough games coming up down the stretch.
Is it fair to say that the Chiefs have the Florida Gators schedule of the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, when you play a first place schedule, it's never going to be easy, especially with the 17-game schedule, because not only do you have to play 2 first place teams in the AFC, you have to add another first place team in the NFC. And for the Chiefs, that is the Detroit Lions. So they have to play the Lions, whereas I think the Ravens get maybe the Rams or something like that, which, the Rams are a very good team too. But the Chiefs' schedule, not very palatable as they move forward. And if they start 1-3, it may be a tough hole to dig out of. Not doubting Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to make it come off here as though I'm picking them to miss the playoffs, but I think it's going to be a tough climb for them to get back to win the division again, which is crazy to say considering how many years in a row they won the division? 10?
Yeah, every year since Mahomes has been there, and then a couple years with Alex Smith.
Right.
So
it's been basically a decade, if not a decade, since they lost the division. But if you're 1-3, the Chargers have already beaten you, and they're 3-0. They've got the Giants this week. So you could be in a 3-game hole, and the Chargers are in the driver's seat for the tiebreaker. It may be tough to see the Chiefs winning that division. We have not seen Patrick Mahomes go on the road very often in the playoffs. And it's looking like if they're going to make a run and get back to the Super Bowl for a third straight year, they're going to need a third straight year. Is it more than that now? Fourth straight year.
With
Make it back for a fourth straight year. Right?
Yeah. For the Super Bowl,
right?
Yeah.
Then they're going to have to go on the road for a couple of games if they're a wild card team. So it's a big game. Chiefs and Ravens in the AFC. The Bills have gotten off to a great start. They look like they might be running away with the AFC number 1 seed. Both these teams, I think, are going to be in the playoffs when it comes down to it. But we know how important seeding is in the playoffs. Of how many times do you have to go on the road? If you can get a bye, which the Bills, again, right now the 3-0 teams across the AFC are Buffalo, Indianapolis, and Los Angeles. Like, if I'm picking one of those teams, I'm picking the Buffalo Bills. So it's early, but this could be a big game with a whole lot of playoff implications down the stretch. If the Chiefs don't win this game, they're going to have to dig out of it. The Ravens, again, I just look at their schedule, and I know you never want to see your team start 1-3, but they have a lot of really winnable games down the stretch with that division that they're in. And I have no doubt that the Ravens are going to win that division.
Feel pretty good about my preseason Super Bowl pick of the Bills and the Eagles. The Bills and the Chargers, I would say, look like the best team overall in the AFC. Meanwhile, the NFC, the Eagles look like the Eagles. And then the Lions, I thought there would be a little bit of a drop-off, and especially after that first game,
right
after losing both coordinators, 8 assistant coaches overall, and they got ran through by the Packers. But then since that point, they've been running through the two teams that they've played.
Right. They crushed the Bears and then won on the road on Monday Night Football against Baltimore. Their next 2 games are against Cleveland and Cincinnati before taking on Kansas City. So likely Lions going to be 4-1 heading into that game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll keep looking across this week's NFL slate on the other side. A revenge game in Dallas coming up on Sunday night, Packers and Cowboys. And also, I want people's thoughts on these international games. Are you a fan of the early morning wake up and you've got, 15 straight hours of football? Or do you think it's a little much having to wake up early and watch these games at 8:30 in the morning or whatever it ends up being kickoff when they play in Ireland like this weekend, or England or Spain, or all these different countries they're going to? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Hour number 1 in the books. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Second hour, next man up on this Friday, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelly broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Looking through a loaded slate of NFL games right now. We'll get to the college slate coming up next. But I put it out there before the break. We've got our first international game of the season. There was a game in Brazil. First Sunday international game of the season. Vikings and Steelers in Dublin, Ireland. 8:30 a.m. kick coming up on Sunday. And we've actually got some thoughts on this on our phone lines. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Adam from Portland wants to chime in on international games. Adam, thanks for calling. What you got?
Well, I don't know how anybody could not like it, because this is what I do. I wake up about 7:30 and I'll start that game. Usually I'll try to get them off to church or whatever we're doing that day, come back and I'll finish the game. And when you finish it, it's usually like 12:30, 1 o'clock. You could build a delay on whatever game you were going to watch to start. So that'll kill all the commercials through at least halftime. So it works out perfect, man. The only thing I don't like about the international game is when my team is playing in it. I don't really care for that, because as a season ticket holder, I don't want to take my home game away from me.
Right.
But sometimes it works out like that. But other than that, there's zero drawback. Like, I like having like world recognition for the NFL. I think it's good that they do that. But I like having extra football, dude. I would watch it 24/7 if I could. And this is just it's like I said, if you do it right, if you time it right, you can make it so that way it kills all your commercials for your Sunday games.
No, I agree with you, Adam. I am a fan of having it on as long as it's not my team. I think that's the perfect way to put it from Adam. Less about the losing a home game, more about I don't want to feel like I have to wake up for it, but I do like that on a Sunday with these games, you wake up and you have football on your TV. You don't have to watch these pregame shows. You sit there, you turn it on. You can go about your day. You can make breakfast. It can be on in the background, but you got football. And then as soon as that game's over, you get into the noon slate. And then you have football all the way through until you go to bed. I'm a fan of them because it just gives you something to have on and pay attention to in the morning. That isn't just, I watch the pregame shows, NFL Game Day Morning, Sunday Countdown, or whatever it is, but I don't need to hear, what are our bold predictions for this week? Oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 740 yards. It's like, I don't need to hear this stuff. Cynthia Freeland's model says Jamar Chase is going to have 7 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. I don't care. Like, I love having football on in the morning, and it leads us right in to the full slate of games, which is great.
Because if you time it up well, you'll have college football on. You start with game day, and then you go college football all day. And if you're like me and you watch the West Coast game, it starts at like 9:30, goes till 12:30. You go to bed, you wake up, you can turn it on. I have no problem with the international NFL games because I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to expand the brand of the NFL. I have a problem when they do it with college, but the NFL, it's fine. The only problem is I miss most of the game because I'm at church during that time, and then I come back and I'll watch the Titans, watch the noon games, and then watch through Sunday Night Football.
Right. I think for college it is a little bit tough, especially, like those kids are in classes and stuff like that. Like I'm not a huge fan of the early season international games, but for the NFL, I think it's good. Thomas on a car phone says he's not a huge fan. I personally think the international games are dumb. The travel time is terrible. It's all a money grab for the NFL. I rarely watch them early morning games. Fair. I think it probably, it is a money grab. They're trying to expand their audience. Tickets, at least based on ESPN and what they've got listed here, tickets to this game between the Vikings and Steelers on Sunday, $800. That is the cheapest price to get into this stadium.
I believe it, because those international fans, they don't get to see NFL football.
And especially in Ireland, this is the first one in Dublin, right?
Yeah.
So, this is their first opportunity to go see it, which
London gets a lot more opportunities.
Right.
But
London, you get like 3 a year, which the novelty may have worn off, but like Spain is getting one this year. Germany, for the second or third straight year in a row, has a game. So
Mexico City has one.
Right. Mexico City's been getting games. Brazil had it for the second year in a row. So I like the expansion of it. The idea of having an international division, which I know Roger Goodell has talked about, I think is a stretch, just because the travel would be a nightmare. I know he said he wants that.
That would be that'd be tough.
I think that's too much, but having
This
these
isn't
teams
soccer.
go over there and play, I think it's fine. Brandon Hermitage says, Jake, I don't really watch movies or TV shows, but I love live sports. So early Sunday football is great. I sometimes go downtown and hey, it's 5:00 somewhere. I love it, Brandon. And see,
Nice tribute to Jimmy Buffett right there.
I will say my one issue with morning games, one issue is sometimes I forget to set my fantasy lineup. It's like,
Oh, that's true.
And that's always been an issue going back to like high school of like, you just forget that there's a game on in the morning and say you sleep in a little bit and you wake up and it's already in the first quarter and you didn't see inactives. That's the only problem I have with it. Otherwise, I think it's great. Give me 15 hours of football on my Sundays.
I'll take it. If I could watch football the whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday, even Friday night, the Friday night college games, and then Monday night football, like that is nirvana right there.
Yeah.
That's nirvana for me.
I mean, weekends where you can just sit down and watch college football for 2 full days. Call me a bum, but I love it. 615-737.
That's all we need in life, Jake. That's all we need in life.
Right. For us, we spend all week talking about sports just so we can spend our weekends watching sports. Sunday's games bookended. Vikings Steelers in the Dublin game at 8:30 a.m. Late night game. Sunday Night Football on NBC. Packers at the Cowboys. Micah Parsons return to Jerry World. And he's going to have his own suite full of fans. Did you see this week, Parker? That Jerry, or maybe not Jerry specifically, but the Cowboys wouldn't give him a refund on his suite for the full season?
I didn't see that.
So they asked him like, oh, how many tickets do you have out, Micah? And he goes, oh, I didn't need tickets. I still have my suite because they said no refunds for the full season. He said he tried to give it to Kenny Clark, like, hey, I'll give you this if you pay me face value or whatever. And Kenny Clark didn't want it. So Micah will have a suite in Dallas, probably packed out with people in Packers gear.
That is awesome. And he still has, I think he has friends that live over there. Still, I mean, obviously all of his teammates are still his friends, but I think he has some friends that live in Dallas too. So
yeah, I'm sure. So it'll be a fun one. I think Micah Parsons is going to have a day on Sunday.
I think this is the best Sunday night football game that we could get.
Right.
Besides Bills Ravens.
I don't think the Cowboys are very good, but
it's just
like
the drama.
The storyline of it
aspect.
I will go out on a limb here. This isn't my Monday headline, but I think Micah Parsons gets a sack on the first drive of the game. Like I think he comes out, pins the ears back, and brings down Dak Prescott. And if he has a game, if Micah Parsons goes out and has like a 3-sack game with a strip sack or something, Jerry Jones might do something drastic. Maybe trade a first-round pick for Jeffrey Simmons. I mean,
pull a quick trigger like Amy Adams Strunk.
That's
the thing they have in common.
I mean, Jerry's getting to the point where I feel like he's going to be very rash and make emotional decisions. And if Micah goes out there and lights them up on Sunday, I think you're going to see something next week from the Cowboys. I don't know if it's a trade. I don't know what it's going to be. They're not going to fire the head coach. Like Schottenheimer's not getting fired after 4 games. But I think you're going to see something that Jerry Jones does if Micah Parsons has just a game-wrecking type of performance on Sunday Night Football.
Kenny Clark, you're gone, even though we just traded for you.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do,
happen,
but like that just it feels like a moment for Jerry Jones to just lash out and do something stupid. And how lucky is it for NBC that this was already the Sunday Night Football game? Because, like, there are a lot of good options this week for games. They kind of worked out that they already had this in prime time, and this is the game everyone wants to see. I'm sure the Football Night in America coverage is going to be basically just, hey, point a camera at Micah and follow him around the field, and we'll talk about him the entire time. It's going to be fun.
Did you see that when they interviewed him on the Thursday Night Football post-game show, they interviewed him after the Packers beat the Commanders, and they were asking him about Dallas, and he was very honest about his feelings going back. Like, he's not going to gloss over the fact that he's going back to the team that traded him off, and he's playing against his former teammates. I thought it was great, and I'm very excited just again for the drama aspect. The Packers may blow him out, but I'm just excited that Micah's returning to Dallas, and the storylines, they write themselves.
Going to be a fun Sunday of NFL football. We've gone through a couple of big games. It stinks, and we'll talk more about the Monday games on Monday, but man, the Monday doubleheader is rough. It is. That is just a tough 2 games to try and lock in for. Jets, Dolphins, both 0-3. And then Bengals, Broncos on paper ahead of the season looked like a good game. But with no Joe Burrow, you wonder if that one gets away from Cincinnati in Denver faster than you would have thought. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Time to get into the college slate. We talked about how loaded the NFL slate is this weekend. College slate even more so, including 2 games going on concurrently. Penn State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia. Lots of games locally in the SEC that we want to talk about. Ole Miss, LSU, and of course, Tennessee, Mississippi State. We'll go through the college slate for tomorrow coming up next here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week on 94.9 The Fan is the Packers and the Cowboys at 7:20 p.m. The NFL game of the week is presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Talk plenty of NFL. We'll get back to the Titans coming up in the final hour of the show, but we got to spend some time on this college football slate because it is going to be a great Saturday. You've got some games, even tonight, that are moderately interesting. Florida State at Virginia. And I said it, you know what? I'm not going to say it again. If you want to hear me give a vague compliment to Virginia, go back to the podcast from yesterday.
Don't you do it, Jake.
TCU is at Arizona State, who Arizona State out of the rankings, but obviously was a playoff team last year. So you got some games tonight to start off the weekend if you're interested in that. And then tomorrow, LSU Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and then our primetime doubleheader, or I don't know what you want to call it, but 6:30 p.m. for both Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, Georgia. Going to be a dual screen setup tomorrow evening for two massive games across the college football world. Let's start with that Oregon, Penn State game. Parker, I'm going to have a Monday headline for this one coming up at 11:30. So I won't spoil that, but this is going to be one of those games, like, as much as I love the SEC, and I know I've been called an SEC homer on here. There are lots of people who say I don't love the Big Ten very much. If this is a dual screen setup, my volume's going on Penn State, Oregon, because the whiteout in Happy Valley, top 6 matchup, rematch of last year's Big Ten championship. This is a massive game. You got two good quarterbacks, Drew Aller, Dante Moore. I am fired up to watch this game tomorrow night.
I'm very excited for this one as well because this is the opportunity that Penn State has. They've had cupcakes through their first 3 games of the regular season. This is their chance to prove that they can get over the hump and they can beat a top 6 team in their own building. And this really proves what Penn State could be going forward. We know the record 1-19 versus top 5 teams under James Franklin. Oregon is not a top 5 team according to the AP poll. I think they are a top 5 team, but 1-19 over the last 20 games against top 5 teams. Drew Aller and that offense, they haven't thrown the ball vertically down the field a whole lot. I think they have something up their sleeve for this Oregon game. This is going to be ginormous. I'm with you. If I had to pick one game to watch this weekend, it would be this one.
Right. Especially, I know Autzen Stadium is a great atmosphere too, but there's something about a Penn State whiteout. And for a game this big, I think it's going to be loud in there. And this isn't the Penn State team of 5 years ago, when usually these games, when Penn State was hosting Michigan or Ohio State, it was like, all right, Penn State's number 7 in the country and Ohio State's number 1, and Ohio State would win by 2 touchdowns. You are the favorite in this game. Like, you are expected to win this game if you are Penn State. You haven't really been tested yet this year, but you got that backfield with Aller and Singleton. So far, your opponents, Nevada, Florida International, Villanova. And they've taken care of business. I will give them credit. They've outscored their opponents 132-17. But this is your first real test. You got to do it against a team that I think on paper, I would say Oregon probably more talented. And this is a team that was the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs last year. I know they got spanked by Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
But who didn't get spanked by them?
Right. Right. So Oregon, Penn State, can big game James Franklin finally actually win one? This is going to be a huge test for Penn State to prove that, because Penn State, the issue with them in a 4-team playoff was they were always going to be on the outside looking in, right? Like, they were a team that found themselves forever between 5 and 10 in the rankings. That's good enough to get you in the playoff every year now. And I think Penn State is always going to be a playoff contender. But a win in this game, I know it's early, I know it's only September, but if you win this one, I think that puts the country on notice that, hey, Penn State isn't messing around this year. This isn't a team that's just going to be happy to get in. This is a team that can go win a national championship.
And when they expanded this playoff to 12 teams, the team that benefited most is Penn State, because if you go back to when even the 4-team playoff was first invented, I think 10 out of the last 12, if it were a 12-team playoff, Penn State would have been in 10 out of those 12 years. So they benefit the most out of this. Now, there is this thing, and Josh Pate talks about this a lot, the cannot versus have not syndrome. And just because Penn State hasn't beaten a top 5 team or a top 6 teams since Ohio State, I believe that was Saquon's last year in Happy Valley, doesn't mean that they can't. But if they don't do it this year, because they are set up perfectly to do so, if they don't do it this year, it may be a while before they ever do it again.
Yes. James Franklin, it is widely known that he hasn't been able to win the big one. And I'm looking at this article going through his record against top 10 teams. In his career, he is 4-20 against AP top 10 teams. Those wins came in 2016 against Ohio State. So I believe that's right. That was Saquon's senior year, or his last year before he went into the draft. They beat Ohio State 24-21, beat a top 10 Wisconsin team 38-21 that year as well. And then I think the other two, they beat a top 10 Utah team in 2022.
Was that the Rose Bowl?
Yes, that was the Rose Bowl. And then Boise State is counted as a top 10 team. They were number 8 last year in the playoffs. Yeah. So that's it. Those are the wins for James Franklin against top 10 teams. He's got 20 losses, winning percentage of 16%. It has not been good, but this is a chance against an Oregon team that, again, Oregon, I think no one doubts, even though they're lower in the rankings, I don't think anyone doubts that Oregon is a national championship contender, because they've proven that they can play at that level. Penn State, they got to prove it, that they can win on the big stage, and I think this is going to be a really fun game. I saw Oregon has been playing Mo Bamba at their practices this week.
That's such a Dan Lanning thing. That is such a Dan Lanning thing.
Well, I mean, it worked out for Vanderbilt. They played Enter Sandman all week leading up to the Virginia Tech game. They played Sandstorm all week leading up to South Carolina. And then it was funny, last week at their halftime show, they did a drone show in the sky, and they played Enter Sandman and Sandstorm back to back. So, kind of as trophies. But James Franklin, he hasn't been able to win the big game. And like Ricky on our text line makes a good point. Wisconsin, Utah, and Boise State are 3 of his 4 top 10 wins. Like, I don't want to crap on Wisconsin, Utah, and Boise State, but like, are those the quality top 10 wins that you look at and say, yeah, James Franklin's turned the corner and he's finally won the games? Like, those don't count. Yes, they're top 10 wins, but until he starts consistently beating the Ohio States, the Oregons, the Michigans, and that doesn't mean every year. Those programs are good too, but you've got to it's got to be a rivalry where you win 1, they win 1. You win 2, they win 3, something like that. Like, it's got to go back and forth a little bit. And again, you take Wisconsin, Utah, and Boise State out. The only top 10 win that James Franklin has is against Ohio State with Saquon Barkley, and they won that game by 3 points.
The thing that Penn State has been very good at under James Franklin is they win the games that they're supposed to win, that they're favored to win. Penn State always finds a way to win those games. It's just that against the teams that they're not favored to win, it seems like they never come through in the clutch when they need be. For Oregon, this is a team that lost in the quarterfinals last year. I think that they're going to learn from that, just knowing the identity of that football team, knowing who Dan Lanning is. You have every right to be confident in the fact that Oregon's a national championship contender. With Penn State, I've been saying that they are a national championship contender because on paper, they have one of the best rosters in college football. But you have every right to be skeptical as well of what Penn State has shown in the past. Will they be able to get over that hump? If you're skeptical and believing that, you have every right to be that way.
Right. And Penn State has a chance to prove it at home in front of what is going to be a rocking crowd. Oregon, they've been good this year. And they got Dante Moore. They got DeCorian Moore. Like, they've got players on that side of the ball. I think it's going to be a fun game. I can't wait to watch it. Again, that's 6:30 on Saturday. I believe on NBC and Peacock. So going to be a dual screen day, though, because we got to talk about Alabama and Georgia, too. Again, we're going to do our Monday headlines coming up in about an hour. Each week, me and Parker, and, if Connor's sitting in with us, too, we try and make our predictions of what we're going to be talking about on Monday. So far, Parker's been much better at it than I have. I guessed last week that Tulane would upset Ole Miss, and Tulane just got absolutely boat raced. So we'll see if I can get one right, but I do have a prediction for that game for our Monday headlines. And again, that is coming up in about an hour. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Matthew in Nashville asks, if Northwestern upsets UCLA, how quickly does Nico enter the portal? He does have that window, the 30-day window since they fired their head coach. A couple of Virginia Tech players have already taken advantage of that. Corner and a wide receiver. So, yeah, I don't know. If Northwestern beats you, yeah, you might want to hop in the portal.
It was so weird. I don't know why, but I actually had a dream that Nico entered the transfer portal last night. I don't know why, but I believe that he's going to.
Yeah, he's not going to be at UCLA next year.
No,
I would almost be sure about that.
Who in their right mind would want to be there right now?
And I mean, as much as Nico has struggled, there's still going to be somebody who's willing to pay 7 figures for a former 5-star quarterback to come play for their team. It's just how college football works. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. The other big game on Saturday night, Georgia, Alabama. We will get into it coming up next. Can Alabama turn this season back around, get to 3-1, and put themselves back in the playoff conversation, or do they fall to 2-2? With Vandy coming to town next week? We'll talk about it next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, looking ahead at the great college football slate tomorrow. Just previewed Penn State, Oregon. Let's get into Alabama and Georgia. Again, going on at the same time. It's going to be tough to give both these games the attention that they deserve. But Georgia, Alabama, this is a huge game for the Crimson Tide. Going on the road, playing between the hedges, trying to avoid falling to 2-2. And again, Vandy coming to Tuscaloosa next week in what would at that point be a must win for Alabama to keep any semblance of playoff hopes alive. You know, a 2-3 Alabama team, I think you can pretty much eliminate from playoff contention unless they ran the table and looked wildly impressive doing it. So this is a big game for Alabama against Georgia. Parker, do we think the Tide can get it done? Or do we think that they might be cooked? I'm thinking this might be a big Georgia win.
I'm not going to rule out the possibility that Alabama can win because I still think there is hope for Alabama, but Georgia's won 33 straight home games, and that's the longest winning streak in the country for that stat.
Right.
Georgia proved to me who they are against Tennessee, that they can win in ways that they're not used to winning. So that shows the sign of a adaptable team under Kirby Smart. Here's the thing about Alabama. I don't know how good this team actually is because the week 1 loss at Florida State, very bad. But since that point against UL Monroe, against Wisconsin, they've had lights out quarterback play, but you also got to consider the level of competition. So I think that this game for Alabama is going to be entirely dependent on how Ty Simpson plays. If he plays very well like he has the last 2 weeks, then Alabama has a shot. But right now I'm going Georgia.
Right. Ty Simpson, 382 yards against Wisconsin in a 24-point win for the Tide last time out. And again, that was 2 weeks ago. They're coming off a bye, which is important. But they haven't run the ball all that effectively so far this year, which is usually an Alabama staple. Like, look at their high rushing yardage here. 31 yards was the leading rusher against Florida State. Ty Simpson was the leading rusher against Wisconsin with 25. I get it. When you're throwing the ball at will, you don't really have to run the ball.
And they were without Jam Miller.
Right.
They get Jam Miller back for this game.
Right, which is huge. But I just don't see it with Alabama this year. I know the talent's there, but it doesn't feel like the same Alabama. And Kalen DeBoer, I understand that was a job that it's hard to turn down, right? Like, I'm sure you're getting offered a whole lot of money to go coach in the SEC, but there's a reason a whole lot of other coaches didn't want that job just because of the expectations of following Nick Saban. And I just don't see Kalen DeBoer sticking around much longer. If anybody can raise the money for that buyout, it's Alabama. And I think there will be, I've said before, I think there are going to be coaches lining up to take that job after Kalen DeBoer leaves because it's much better to be the next guy than the guy right after the legend in Nick Saban.
And I don't want to imagine this, but if Alabama loses to Georgia and they're 2-2 and they have Vanderbilt coming to town the following week, and Vanderbilt has this game circled, of course, Alabama has this game circled because they lost this game last year. But if somehow Vanderbilt were to find a way to upset Alabama in Tuscaloosa and Alabama falls to 2-3,
it's over.
All hell breaks loose in Tuscaloosa.
I mean, you said it during the break that you're going to be tuned in to Tuscaloosa radio. I would
all week.
Honestly,
all week.
We had the one caller a couple weeks ago after the Florida State game. I forget her name, but she called in and talked about how much she hates Kalen DeBoer. Like, I want to get like some Tuscaloosa, not even radio hosts, just like find some random Alabama fans down in Tuscaloosa to call into the show and just get their thoughts.
Let's get some Feinbaum callers on here.
Right. Can we get Legend to call into the show, please? Do we think we can get his number? No, there's no doubt about it. Kalen DeBoer is not the coach on Monday if they lose these next 2 games, right? Like, if they lose to Georgia and then come home and lose to Vanderbilt for the 2nd straight year, it's over. Like, I'm sorry. I don't see Kalen DeBoer surviving that with all of the pressure and expectations that come with being the head coach at Alabama.
Oh yeah, no. Alabama fans will be done with you. And it's not like your schedule's not going to be easy because you still play in the SEC, but my gosh, if they're 2-3 and they lose 3 games in back-to-back years, I don't remember the last time that's happened. It hasn't happened in my lifetime, I don't even think.
Yeah, I mean, they have been a consensus top 5 team for basically the last 15 years. I mean, they don't lose very often. Let's see year-by-year results because they lost three games last year.
First time since Nick Saban's first year at Alabama, I think.
So they lost 4 games last year if you include the Michigan Bowl game. Before that, they had not lost more than 2 games since 2010, which was Saban's 4th year. They went 10-3. And before that, it was Saban's first year. They went 7-6.
Yeah, I guess I was referring to the regular season. When was the last time they lost back-to-back, or they lost 3 games in the regular season in consecutive years?
Oh, in consecutive years? Yeah, it would be Mike Shula's last year and Saban's first year, back-to-back. So 2006, 2007 was the last time. I mean, you look at this. Let's say, just for the sake of the argument, Bama loses Saturday and Vandy goes in and upsets them next week. They would have lost 7 games under Kalen DeBoer. You'd have to go back in Saban's last 4 years. You'd have to go back to 2019 to find 7 losses. And even from when Nick Saban started, if you take away his first year, from 2008 to 2012, he only lost 7 games. So 5 years is basically what it took Nick Saban to lose 7 games. And Kalen DeBoer might do it in a year and a half. Crazy. 4279 on the text line says, my brother lives in Tuscaloosa and has been there for 7 years. He says DeBoer isn't going anywhere unless he has 3 seasons with 3 to 4 losses in a row. He says his buyout is too large. I get it. Like, Kalen, it's not chump change. What is his buyout?
Tell him to call in before the Vanderbilt game.
$63 million buyout. So, yeah, that's a lot of money. But it's been done before. What was Jimbo's, like 90 something?
Yeah, Jimbo's still getting paid to sit on the couch right now. So
Jimbo, or $76 million. So if A&M did it, I know A&M's got money, but Alabama's got money too. Alabama, if he loses the next 2 games, somebody is coming up with that money to buy out Kalen DeBoer. I promise you that. Maybe a bunch of somebodies, but they're going to come up with it, and he will be gone. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Big one between Alabama and Georgia. I'm taking Georgia by a couple scores, I think.
By a couple scores?
I'll go 10 points.
Okay. The over-under right now, I believe Georgia's favored by 2.5. Let me double check.
I'm going to go Georgia like 34-24.
Okay. I think Georgia's going to win this game by a touchdown or less.
Okay.
That's my feel on it.
You got it as a closer game?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're both on the dogs. Quickly before the break, did want to touch on LSU Ole Miss. With these 2 games, that one is going under the radar a little bit, but it shouldn't, because this is a playoff, a massive playoff implications game with Ole Miss and LSU. And I know Lane Kiffin was upset that it's being played at 2:30 because of course, when they go to LSU, it's always at night, but at home, it's at 2:30. Number 4 LSU, number 13 Ole Miss, both 4-0. Huge game, and even more drama now that we officially know that Lane Kiffin's daughter, is dating Whit Weeks. So lots on the line between those 2 teams. LSU, yes, they're number 4 in the country. They're 4-0, but the wins that they're getting are looking less impressive by the week. Like, if you had said at the beginning of the year, like, hey, they go into Clemson and win and they beat Florida, you'd be like, man, LSU's looking really good. Not saying that they've looked bad, but those wins are definitely not looking as great as they would have if you said they were going to happen in August.
Yeah, I was thinking about saving this one for my Monday headline, but I'll just go ahead and talk about it now because since we're on it, I think Ole Miss is going to win this football game. And here's why. Lane Kiffin is an absolute wizard of a play caller. Austin Simmons goes down. This guy comes in whose name is Trinidad Chambliss, which sounds like an island just north of the coast of the Bahamas. And he comes in, Division II transfer from Ferris State, and is just balling. He was known as a runner, but he just comes in, this Lane Kiffin offense, throws for 300 yards in back-to-back weeks in both starts. And they had a choice. Are we going to start Austin Simmons? Or are we going to start Trinidad Chambliss? They're going with Trinidad. LSU, their defense is their calling card right now, which is what we weren't saying about them the last 2 years.
Right.
Garrett Nussmeier looks fine. They can't run the football. They rank in the hundreds in terms of the important rushing statistics. I'm taking Ole Miss to win the game.
I like it. I picked against Ole Miss last week. Maybe I should make up for it and pick them this week, but Ole Miss fans may not want that. That's a big one. 2:30 on ABC. Going to be very interesting to see who wins that game because the winner puts themselves right in the driver's seat for a playoff spot. You look at Ole Miss the rest of the way. They've still got some tough games on the schedule. You got to play at Georgia, at Oklahoma in back-to-back weeks, but you win this game, and Ole Miss should be sitting pretty when it comes to playoff conversation. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We got one more game I want to get to before we head back to the Titans. And, of course, it's a local one. We'll talk Tennessee, Mississippi State coming up next. See if the Vols can avoid a trap game on the road right after this. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Nata Vingen will be broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. at Jimmy Kelly's Steakhouse today as they celebrate the opening of their all-new rooftop dining area and bar. It's also a great place to go before or after Vanderbilt games. Commodores taking on Utah State tomorrow, 11:45 a.m. kickoff. You can listen to the pregame with Andrew, Kevin, and Norman starting at 10 o'clock right here on 102.5 The Game. Other local game across Tennessee, the Volunteers traveling down to Starkville to take on Mississippi State. And Parker, again, I rely on you for the feeling amongst Vols fans heading into some of these games. I have a feeling as an outsider who, I follow Tennessee, but obviously not a fan. I have a feeling this one kind of feels similar to Arkansas last year. Am I wrong in saying that that's the feeling heading into this game?
No, that is the feeling. Can Josh Heupel and the Vols avoid the trap game that seems to trip them up every year? Last year it was Arkansas. The year before that it was Florida in the swamp when Tennessee was actually favored to win that game for the first time in 20 years. So, yes, can you get out of Starkville with a win? I think Mississippi State's a very good team. They're not getting enough love nationally. Can Josh Heupel and the Vols get the win? That's really all the fans care about.
Yes, I think they win. Like I do think the Vols win. I don't think it's going to be a nail biter, but it just I talked about this with Vanderbilt yesterday of like Utah State, obviously not as high a quality opponent as Mississippi State, so I'm not really worried about Vandy losing the game, but it has the makings of a trap game where it's like, hey, you're coming off a big win. You've got a huge game next week followed by a bye week. Vandy's playing at 11:45 in the morning after 4 straight night games. Like, it has the makings of it. It has the same feeling for the Vols of like, hey, this is one where you could go in and you could get punched in the mouth. Can you respond? I think they will. Last year, the Arkansas game, the play everybody remembers is Nico running out of bounds at the very end and running out of time. I feel like having Joey Aguilar back there is going to make a world of difference for this team on the road. I have belief that the Vols can go win this game, but definitely not going to be a cakewalk for Tennessee to go down there and get a win in Starkville.
No, and I think this team is a little bit more mature than last year's team. So I believe they will be able to handle a tough road environment. The cowbells will be clanging. Joey Aguilar certainly provides a lot of confidence for fans back there at quarterback because he's seen a lot of different things in college. Now, granted, this is his first true SEC road start, but he has seen a lot more college football than Nico did last year. So that provides a lot of confidence for the fans.
Yeah, I feel decent about this Tennessee team getting the win. But again, that's the same feeling I have heading into this game as I did last year when we talked about Tennessee, Arkansas, is just like, hey, they should win, but don't sleep on this team because Mississippi State has proven that they can beat good teams, especially at home, beat Arizona State just a couple of weeks ago. So that's a big one for Tennessee, trying to get to 4-1 on the year. Again, Vandy taking on Utah State tomorrow morning, trying to get to 5-0 before heading to Alabama. Good point here from Matthew in Nashville. I did mention this game, but he said you forgot another sneaky big game, Auburn, Texas A&M. That game at Jordan Hare last year went into quadruple overtime. That is a big one, and especially for Texas A&M, they've got to prove that they belong right at the top of that playoff conversation. Like right now, they're number 9. They got the big win on the road at Notre Dame, but this is a chance for them to solidify that spot. The schedule isn't all that difficult for Texas A&M the rest of the way. Like, they avoid Georgia. They do play Texas on the road coming up at the very end of the season. Obviously, that's a huge rivalry game. They play at LSU, but the rest of the games on this schedule, it's not like you're playing a gauntlet here if you're A&M. So this is a big one. You're at home against Auburn. Can the Aggies and Marcel Reed and Mike Elko go get themselves a win?
I might as well continue to nerd out because I've been doing it this whole time already. But Texas A&M and Auburn, this is going to be a fun one because Auburn has really struggled in the secondary so far. And Texas A&M, what won the game for them in South Bend at Notre Dame was the explosive pass play. Now in the preseason, what we were talking about with Texas A&M was the running game. They have 3 very capable running backs. They have one of the deeper offensive lines in the SEC. They haven't had to run the football too much because Marcel Reed has kind of carried the load on offense. Will they be able to invert that against the Auburn team who has been very good in the run defense? And if you're able to run the football, have the explosive pass from Marcel Reed, I think Texas A&M gets out of here with a win.
Yeah, this is an exciting weekend in the SEC. Have you heard? Are they doing a second year of the Netflix documentary?
I haven't heard anything on that, but I sure hope so.
I haven't heard if there is a second season in the works. Let me see. Any given Saturday. It says they have another season planned. So there you go.
There we go.
I would think this weekend's going to get its own episode with all of the games that we've got spread out across the South. Though the three that stand out obviously are Alabama, Georgia. You got LSU, Ole Miss, but this Auburn, Texas A&M is sneaky. Matthew in Nashville says they just have to avoid typical A&M and go 8-4. Yeah, I mean that's what you're worried about is that A&M. They're a top 10 team in the country. They always seem to find a way to get back to just outside that top 15 conversation. Another good point from Matthew Nashville. Wonder if Auburn will be playing angry because of the officiating in the OU game. I saw the statement released from Auburn's athletic director, basically of like, hey, we go out there trying to put our best foot forward and show our best on Saturdays. We expect the officials to do the same. I mean, it's different than a missed pass interference call. Like those happen. Like it was a rule that was just not adjudicated correctly in that game against Oklahoma. And it's tough. Like Auburn, they're not ranked anymore. That can change if they can win this weekend, but man, that's a tough way to take your first loss of the season if you're the Tigers.
I have a fix to this solution. I'd love to get your opinion on this. So if Hugh Freeze hypothetically were to come to the press conference after that game and just obliterate the officials, the SEC would send him a hefty fine as well as the Auburn athletic department and all of that. But when the officials screw up and they release a statement that they messed up the call, they owned it. But what happens after that?
Nothing.
Auburn's still screwed over and they got hosed in that game. So what if the SEC officiating crew or the SEC front office, whatever, if Hugh Freeze says something, he gets fined. Well, how about the referees send Auburn money for screwing them over in the game?
I wouldn't hate a fine system for officials. It would have to be structured in the right way that these guys aren't afraid out there to make bad calls. But like for blatant misses that do affect the outcome of the game, I could see it. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Just that it doesn't feel like something the SEC or any other college or league is going to end up doing because it already is so hard to be an official. And like these guys put themselves out there and like there are death threats that get sent for some of the, like when you blow a call. So I don't think they'll get a fine system, but it's not a bad idea.
It's just so warped because these oftentimes like the officials, they control the outcome of the game. And when you have coaches like Hugh Freeze, you have a quarterback like Jackson Arnold who are trying to prove themselves. Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat.
Right.
And he's coaching for his job and he has to account for what happened in the game afterwards. He has to go up in front of all the media and give an account. And if he says something that the SEC perceives is out of line, he gets fined for it, but the officials, all they have to do is release a quick graphic, and they're probably not even the ones doing it. They don't have to speak to the media at all.
Yeah, there needs to be more accountability for referees, and I don't know how you do that, but there has to be a way for these guys to be – there has to be consequences, just like there are for players and coaches when you mess up. There should be consequences for officials, too, when they make a call that affects the outcome of the game like that. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. You can text or call our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingen will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football games. Head up there and watch the Jets and Dolphins, Bengals and Broncos, and plus ask about Circa's giveaway of a trip to Las Vegas for the Titans and Raiders game in October. We're going to get back into the Titans next. And I had a segment ready about kind of big picture stuff of the Titans, and we will get to that. But there was a text on here from Ryan in Florida asking about the 8 Titans that are nominated for the Hall of Fame. I want to go through that list coming up next. So we'll do that next. Then we'll get more into some big picture Titan stuff ahead of their game against the Texans this Sunday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Friday. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Friday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans talk in this final hour. Also at 11:30, we'll give you our Monday headlines. What do we think is going to happen over the weekend? We'll see if I can do a little better this week. Parker has been crushing me so far. Not that we keep score. We don't keep any score on this show. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So I have a big picture Titans topic to get to, but first we got a text from Ryan in Florida asking about the 8 former Titans who have been nominated for the 2026 Hall of Fame class and wanting to go through if any of them have a chance to get in. And it's tough because, you know, as someone who follows the Titans, you romanticize your players a little bit more than other teams would or the national audience would. But you look at these names and you're like, man, how are some of these guys not Hall of Famers? Steve McNair, Eddie George, Derek Mason, our good friend Derek Mason here at 102.5 The Game. Lorenzo Neal, Gary Anderson also on that list. The 3 more modern ones are the interesting ones to me. And these are the guys that like I grew up watching. Chris Johnson, Delaney Walker, Jarrell Casey. I will easily say, first off, Delaney Walker and Jarrell Casey are not Hall of Famers, but they were the bright spots on some really bad Titans teams. And you do romanticize what they did, and they were really good players. They were Pro Bowl level players for a long time. They're not Hall of Famers, but it is cool to see them at least nominated because they did have really great careers, especially, you know, Delaney Walker was a backup for Vernon Davis when he was with the 49ers. But when he came to the Titans, I mean, he was the guy on offense. There was nobody else really that the Titans could rely on for a few years there. And so I'm glad to at least see him nominated. I don't really see him going further. I believe it's they're reducing it down to 25 semifinalists. So I don't see Delaney Walker making that list, but really glad to see Delaney and Jarrell Casey at least on there. Chris Johnson's the interesting one, right? Like, in terms of peak, Chris Johnson had one of the highest peaks of a running back that you'll ever see in terms of game-breaking ability. And I said it before, and the text line got after me about it, saying it was a crazy take. His 2009 season may be the greatest running back season of all time. Like, it was that good. He had 2,500 yards from scrimmage. That has never happened before, and he did it. So the peak for Chris Johnson is high, but it was just so short that I just don't know if you could ever justify putting him in the Hall of Fame. He had one really historic season. He had a couple of great years in the NFL, but his time as an elite running back was so short, which a lot of them are for running backs, that I don't think he's ever going to make it into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, weren't we saying that about Sterling Sharp? Sterling Sharp didn't play that long in the NFL, but he still got the nod for the Hall of Fame. Calvin Johnson was the same way. I agree. I mean, that one season he had where he eclipsed over 20. What was it? What season was that?
This was 2009. He had 2,000 yards rushing, and he had 500 yards receiving.
Yeah, over 2,500 yards of total offense for Chris Johnson.
16 total touchdowns that year.
Yeah, one of the best seasons for a running back, certainly. But it was just the longevity of his career. I think that's the thing that's kind of hindering him.
Right. He had 6 total 1,000-yard seasons, which it's good. But after that, he kind of fell off after he left the Titans. He never reached 1,000 yards again, had at most 3 touchdowns after leaving the Titans. So his peak from his rookie season in 2008, he was a Pro Bowler 3 years in a row. He was Offensive Player of the Year back in 2009. Like, the peak is super high for Chris Johnson. But you got to have some longevity there, and I don't see him ever making the Hall of Fame. Again, one of the greatest running back seasons of all time. I just don't know if I can see it. It's going to be tough to see him, see the voters look at what he did, especially like he didn't do anything in the play, which I know running backs, it's tough to judge them on their postseason success, but he made the playoffs one time and He got injured in that game. Not his fault. It's Ray Lewis's fault.
What, 2008?
Yeah, in the divisional game against the Ravens. But I think that's the interesting one here, because if it were up to me, like McNair, Steve, Eddie, D-Mace, they'd all go in. Chris Johnson, I think, is the borderline one where it's like, do you take a guy who in his prime may have been one of the best running backs that we've seen in a long time, but just didn't have the longevity of some of these other guys? Like Adrian Peterson was doing it for a much longer period of time and still had that 2,000-yard season. Derrick Henry has been doing it for a much longer period of time and had the 2,000-yard season. I just don't know if Chris Johnson, if they're going to give it to him based on his body of work overall, even though that 2009 season, again, may have been better than anything we've ever seen from running back.
That's the knock on running backs, is their longevity. The average career for a running back in the NFL is not as long compared to, let's say, a quarterback or maybe a defensive lineman. But when you have guys like outliers, like a Frank Gore or like a Derrick Henry, where they're able to keep up the production for so long, and Derrick Henry's 30 and he's still going strong despite the 3 fumbles in 3 consecutive games, that's going to be the thing that really, really hurts Chris Johnson.
Right. And I look here, like Chris Johnson, his overall career yardage, he never got to 10,000 yards. Like Derrick Henry's already at 11.6 and still going. So Henry is going to be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. Chris Johnson, like the guys that he's surrounded by in terms of total yardage, and I know total yardage isn't exactly like the most important thing, but like Matt Forte is 2 spots in front of him. Matt Forte is and they played the same amount of years. Like Matt Forte, really good running back, fun to watch, but is Matt Forte a Hall of Famer? No.
As much as I hate to say it, he's not.
I know Chris Johnson had the one really great year, which has to factor into. I think it's going to be borderline. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Johnson a year or two advances further in the Hall of Fame voting process. I just don't know if he's ever going to get that gold jacket.
Did you listen to when Greeny came on with Chase and Big Joe yesterday, and he was giving his Mount Rushmore of Titans players? And Greeny's not a Titans fan, obviously, but I think it was interesting because Steve McNair wasn't on the list, and neither was Eddie George.
Really?
It was Derrick Henry. I mean, I can't remember who else he said. I'll have to go back. Warren Moon, Earl Campbell. Connor's feeding them to me back here. Who was the last one?
Warren Moon, Earl Campbell, Derrick Henry, and
I'm gonna
Bruce
find
Matthews. Is that what Connor
maybe?
said?
Maybe.
Yeah. So if he's going back to like Oilers days, then sure. But like we did this exercise earlier this year, sometime last year. Of I think it was me and TD did our Mount Rushmores, and if you're looking at just Titans, it's Steve, it's Eddie, it's Derrick. And then I think the fourth one is up for grabs among a litany of players. Like you could go 15 guys and they'd all be right. But I think Steve, Eddie, and Derrick all have to get in at some point, right? Like I think you look at their body of work, what they did. They went to a Super Bowl. Like I think they should all be in. Chris Johnson, I'd like to see him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I was 10 years old when he had his 2,000-yard season. Yep. And like, that is the guy. I had 2 of his jerseys. Like, I love Chris Johnson. I just think it's going to be close with him of whether they actually view that peak, that prime as enough to give him a gold jacket. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I do want to get to that big picture Titans topic of, why do the Titans make everything so hard? Like it's been years, and it's like watching a different sport when you watch the Titans versus any other NFL game, because they make everything look so difficult. And that's not just on the football field. It's in the front office, the coaching staff too. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you on this Friday morning. Next Man Up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you. Taking you through this Friday morning. Chase and Big Joe are coming up after us. Connor Newt going to be in today, so excited for that. Plenty to get to around the football world. We've gone through the full college football slate. And don't forget our Monday headlines coming up next. Going to try and make some predictions of what we might see this weekend across college football and from the Titans. I have some Titans thoughts here, and these are pretty big picture, but it's just like I wrote this on the grid on Tuesday, and it's kind of just kept getting pushed back. Why do the Titans make things so hard? Like it doesn't seem to matter if it's in the front office, on the field. It just can't ever be easy with the Titans. The offensive coordinator isn't good enough to call plays, so the quarterback coach is going to do it because the head coach couldn't do it. Oh, the general manager, he's not the head football executive and doesn't have final say over the 53. We've got the czar of football, Chad Brinker, who's looking over it. And that's not even to start with watching the team actually play and try and grind out yards on offense and just not being able to move the ball. They just make things look so hard. And this week, I think, is another example of just why does that have to be so complicated? Just be like every other team. Have your head coach or your offensive coordinator call plays. Have your GM be your GM, and be a little more transparent when it comes to some of the things that are going on. That's all I ask. And I wonder what the chances are that we see Chad Brinker get held accountable coming up soon. Like, he was part of the people that hired Callahan, and at this point, again, he's still here. I'm not willing to completely say he's going to be fired next week, but at this point, Callahan's been a disaster. Like, at what point does Amy Adams-Strunk hold Chad Brinker accountable for some of the issues that are going on in this organization?
There's this theory that's been floating around that Chad Brinker is going to use Brian Callahan as a meat shield this year to once again deflect any type of blame. There are some people that are so good at this. It's truly an art. There are some people that are so good at just sticking around and somehow avoiding whatever blame. And for whatever reason, Chad Brinker has done that since he's been here.
Yeah, I don't understand why he doesn't get to be the next guy in line at some point. Like, Rand hired him. He somehow superseded Rand, even though he wasn't apparently last year, because there was the whole conversation about president and vice president, who knew who was actually in charge of what. Now this year, Chad is the president of football operations and has final say on the 53. But Mike Borgonzi's making all of the personnel decisions. It just doesn't make any sense. And honestly, I would love just keep Mike Borgonzi. He seems like he knows what he's doing. Get rid of everybody else. Let Mike Borgonzi be your GM. Hire a head coach who knows what he's doing, and get back to having a normal football structure of what a team looks like. There's a reason NFL teams all have very similar structures. Head coach, GM, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Usually the coordinators call plays unless the head coach is really good at it. Like, let's get back to being a normal franchise. Maybe that would help this team actually start winning some games.
Everything is just so convoluted, it makes no sense, but you took the words right out of my mouth. I look around the NFL, I look around college football, and every coach is different. I do understand that, but you got to have some sort of fire. You got to have some sort of passion. You have to be militaristic in the ways in which you operate. And if you want to be successful, I think of a guy like a Ben Johnson, who just got to Chicago. What Chicago has been lacking is an alpha dog head coach. They haven't had that in a while. But the reports I've seen from Ben Johnson, from Courtney Cronin, he is he's obsessed with the little things. He's obsessed with the details. And if things don't get done the way he wants them to get done, he loses his mind. With Brian Callahan, you don't see that. You don't see the players getting held accountable. You don't see Big Jeff when he goes off on his little tangents. You don't see him getting held accountable. And I think that is one of the big issues that's been plaguing this Titans team.
Yes. And the stuff in the front office has just kind of popped up the last couple of years. Like, this was a pretty normally run organization for a long time, but they've always been just a difficult team to watch. There was the one year in, I guess, 2020 and 2021 those were the 2 seasons where I actually sat down and watched football and was like, man, the Titans are a fun football team to watch. But even the years they were winning, like back in like 16 and 17, when they were 9-7, it was always painful to watch. It was that you've seen the meme of like, oh, I can't wait to sit down and watch my favorite team. And then most of the game is I want to hurt myself.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, great, we won.
Pretty accurate meme.
That is what watching the Titans was like for a long time. And now it's like that without the, oh, great, we won at the very end. So, I want to watch normal football. I want to watch good football again. And sadly, it doesn't look like we're getting that anytime soon around here.
But it's like, it seems so easy to understand. It's just, I don't understand how they could possibly screw it up so bad when you have as much newness on the coaching staff in the front office as they have. Something's going to go wrong. Think about it. First time play caller as a head coach who is now in year 2. You have a first-time offensive coordinator, Nick Holes, Denard Wilson. They all came in at the same time. There's so much new that you got to have some sort of experience in the room.
Right. And Bill Callahan was really the only experienced guy they had last year, and we saw how that all turned out. And I think Bill Callahan, it's got to be tough for him to coach under his son, where it's like Bill probably wants to do things his way, but he can't do things that is going to undermine his own son as the head coach. And so I wonder if maybe that has something to do with why Bill Callahan maybe hasn't been as much of a factor around here. Justin from Greenbrier on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com says, the Titans always make me scream, what are you doing? Even when they were good teams, they very rarely blew another team out. They think they're smarter than everyone else and that their way is better than the tried and true traditional method. I think that's a perfect way to put it, Justin, is that they're trying to be too cute. Like the Titans are trying to change things up and hope that they can be a little bit smarter than everybody else. It doesn't always work out. And I think the Titans need to get back to the basics here and just build this team the normal way that we've seen teams build for a long time. You seem to have the quarterback. That is puzzle piece number 1 and the most important one. Now, can you build the roster, find a head coach who's able to get the most out of his team, and maybe this team can start to be good in the next couple of years. But as we talked about earlier in the show, there's so many holes on this roster. You've got some resources. You don't have unlimited resources. You've got to find a way to start getting some elite talent on this roster if this team's going to get better anytime soon.
And when you keep compiling bad drafts upon bad drafts upon bad drafts, eventually it's going to catch up to you. You can have good coaching, but you also have to have the player aspect as well. So just a good coaching doesn't fix anything. And I'm not saying this Titans coaching staff is good by any means, because they're far from it. But when you keep stockpiling bad drafts upon bad drafts, it's the same thing in college football. If you get recruiting rankings in the 70s and you over the course of 3 or 4 years, your football team's not going to be very good.
It's a good point. And the Titans have not been very good for a long time. I still wonder if it's me, because I moved to Nashville in November of 2022. Since I moved to Nashville, I believe the Titans have won 11 games total over about 3 years of football. So I don't know. Maybe it's me. I hope not.
Go back to Virginia, Jake.
Yeah, get out of here, Jake. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, I did want to mention, I saw this earlier and didn't actually mention on the air. The corresponding move, it looks like, for Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon being added is Kalel Mullings is heading to the IR. So Titans going to be thin at running back for at least one more week. The good news is Teron Davenport did say that Tajay Spears has been working on a side field. The hope is that he could be back next week when he's eligible to come off IR. So if you get Tajay Spears back, it's not as big of a deal. And not that Mullings has been a huge part anyway. He's been hurt, but it's going to be a lot of Tony Pollard for the 4th straight week coming up on Sunday against the Texans. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Titans and Texans coming up on Sunday. Lots of great college football games, NFL games. It's time to see what we're going to be talking about on Monday. When we come back, Parker Kelly and I going to give our Monday headlines, making a guess, see if we can be Nostradamus about what's going to go on in football this week. We'll do it coming up after this break. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelly alongside you on this Friday morning. Big weekend of football coming up. We're going to do our best in this segment to guess what might happen. Last week, I took an offer. I guessed that, first off, the Titans would win, which I'm done doing until they show they can win a game. I also thought that Chimdike was going to get a return touchdown and finally break the long streak without a touchdown on a return. That did not happen either. And I also said Tulane was going to beat Ole Miss. I think they lost 45-10. So not a good week for me. Parker had the Colts winning and Memphis covering. Not only did they do that, Memphis won the game. Let's see if I can do a little bit better this week. I am going to start with the Titans. I had a different one, but I changed it with the news today. This is kind of a vague headline, so there's not really a tangible outcome here. I think Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, who was just signed to the 53 this morning, is going to start on Sunday against Houston, and I think he is going to have a good game. Like, I think he is going to – you are not going to look back on Sunday's game and say he was a turnstile against Will Anderson, who he likely, or Daniil Hunter, whoever he's running up against. I'm thinking like, and I know this is the example everyone brings up, Dylan Radins versus Nick Bosa in December of 2021. That's what I'm going for here. I think Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon, fresh off the practice squad, is going to step up and have a good game on Sunday. I'm going glass half full, hoping that the Titans can finally get a patchwork right tackle who works and can keep Cam Ward upright. I'm gonna choose to believe in Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon on Sunday. He may not even start, but I'm guessing he will.
Why are you feeling so bold with your Titans predictions?
I don't know. I keep coming back to the well. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
It's the toxic cycle of being a Titans fan, I guess.
I'm going big there. Because he may not even start. Honestly, he could just be an inactive on Sunday. So that would make me about as wrong as I possibly could be. But I'm saying not only is he active, he starts and plays well. What do you have as a Titans Monday headline, Parker?
Oh gosh. This is not gonna be a good football game. I'm mentally preparing for it right now. 2 0-3 football teams. What's the over under at? Do you have that pulled up?
Let me see.
I should have had this pulled up already.
Houston is favored by 7.5, I think.
7.5. Okay. And what's the total? Total over under?
It is 39.5.
39.5. So okay. I think the under hits on this game.
So I think it's going
to be a slog fest. And I do think the Texans are going to win. I'm not picking the Titans until I see something that will make me believe otherwise. But I'm taking the under on this game and a Texans win.
I'm not picking the Titans because at this point, why would you? But I am choosing to be positive, which probably means I'm going to be wrong. All right, let's go off the board here. Could be college football. We can open it up to the NFL if you got something as a Monday headline. Here is mine. In college football, we got the two big games at 6:30 on Saturday. Georgia, Alabama. I already said I think Georgia wins by about 10. I'm going to say Oregon wins handily in Happy Valley.
What is handily? Like, what are we talking? Double digits?
I'm going to say 14 or more.
Oh, okay. Bold.
I'm going big on Oregon.
In a wideout?
Yep, I'm going big on Oregon. I'm not a James Franklin believer. I think he's going to choke. I think Oregon, it might be a close game into the second half, but I think Oregon pulls away late, wins by 2 touchdowns.
So you're taking the over. This is 53.5. Are you taking the
53.5? I'll say, yeah, I'd say it ends like, let's go 38-24, something like that.
Okay. All right. I like the over. I don't know if I like Oregon winning by 14 or more, but
I think
like
Oregon, I think, is the better team. I think they're the better coach team. I think Oregon wins by 2 touchdowns. What do you have as a Monday headline, Parker?
All right. I got a nice little parlay here, and I'm going to start off with the two big games. I have Oregon winning. I think they win by 3 or more.
Okay. 3
or more. I'm leaning towards 3 right now. And I think Georgia is going to beat Alabama by 7 or less. Okay, so those are my two games. Now, I wanted to go a little little out there on this one. Let's go all the way out to the West Coast. Seattle. Washington takes on Ohio State in a typical Big Ten matchup. I mean, this game's played every year, right? Washington is an underdog in this game, understandably so. Ohio State is favored by 7.5. I am going Washington plus the points, but outright I'm going Ohio State. I think Washington is one of the most under-talked about, underrated home environments in all of college football. It's very loud in Seattle. And I don't think Ohio State has seen an environment like this season. Very young team, still very talented, but I'm going to take Washington plus the points, but give me Ohio State outright.
Okay, I like it. You're going all across the board there. If I had to add an NFL one, I'll go Ravens beat the Chiefs. Like I think that, and Lamar has a pretty big game. That would be my guess for the NFL slate. And, you know, I like Micah Parsons to make a pretty big impact in his return to Jerry World.
Mark me down for Ravens over Chiefs as well.
All right.
And if we're wrong, we'll go down together.
So putting together our Monday headlines this week. In college football, I've got Oregon winning by 2 touchdowns over Penn State. I'm going big on that one. And Parker is taking Oregon to win by 3 or more, Georgia to win at Alabama or over Alabama by 7 or less, and then Washington to cover the points against Ohio State but still lose. For the Titans, I'm thinking Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon makes an impact on Sunday.
MVP?
Not MVP. I think just not a turnstile. NAT. That's what you're looking for at right tackle for the Titans right now. And I think BCD can be NAT on Sunday for the Titans against Houston. It might just be wishful thinking because we haven't seen him playing football. Actually, you know what? It is wishful thinking because we haven't seen him play yet. But can it be worse than what we've seen at right tackle over the last couple of years?
I ask myself that question every day. And the answer is always yes, it can get worse.
I guess so. We've been proven wrong when saying it can't get worse. I think I say in the open that you hear at the top of the every hour, like it can't possibly be worse, right? That's talking about the Titans offensive line. And every year we get proven wrong. Corey Curtis just texted me on my personal text line. He says his Monday headline is Bills beat the Saints so badly, the Saints get relegated to the UFL.
The UFL.
I like it. I mean, the Saints, they did not look good at all against the Seahawks on Sunday, and now they got to play the Bills. Maybe best team in the league, worst team in the league. Yeah, I think the Bills win that one.
I got to get Corey's thoughts on the Bears versus the Raiders this week. 3:25 on Fox.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Bears trying to win back-to-back games here after Caleb Williams throws 4 touchdowns against Dallas on Sunday. If you have Monday headlines, send them in 615-737-1025. What do you think we'll be talking about on Monday's show? We'd love to hear from you. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So we will see if the headlines actually work out this week. I'm not very hopeful because I continue to go pretty big on these. I'm going bold on these Monday headlines. And last week, all of them failed. This week, we'll see. I got Oregon big. I got Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon being a capable starting right tackle for the Titans on Sunday. Isn't it crazy that's considered bold? The Titans just don't have horrible right tackle plays. Put it on the board.
It's just, it's terrible. We're talking about the NFL draft in September. Terrible times.
Corey says 31-20 Bears.
Love it.
There we go. We get Corey Curtis's thoughts. And don't forget, every Wednesday, Corey on the show with us. Corey Curtis from News 2. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Last call for phones here on the program. If you do have those Monday headlines, get those in on our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will wrap up the show coming up next. Take one final look at the Titans and get you off to chasing Big Joe. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final segment, next man up on this Friday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelly with you, 102.5. The Game, Chase and Big Joe are coming up right after us. We'll be back on Monday, recapping everything that goes down this weekend. Again, you've got tons of great college football tomorrow. Titans and Texans, the AFC South Toilet Bowl on Sunday. One will be 0-4, one will be 1-3. And we will see if the Titans can finally get their first win. We've got some texters on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com sending in their Monday headlines, and a lot of them are confident in the Titans winning this game. 3337 says Texans are last in the division and Titans have same record as the Ravens, 1-3. So he's picking the Titans and the Chiefs this week. Justin from Greenbrier says Titans win, Coach Callahan breaks out in tears. I mean, it happened in week 4 last year, right?
Oh my gosh. I can't believe we have a head coach that cries after he wins a football game.
I mean, it's been a while since he's won one. And I thought it was funny. We mentioned earlier, Adam from Portland called into Robbie and Rexroad and said the Titans are going to win their next 3. How crazy would it be if Brian Callahan doubled his career win total in 3 weeks? Like right now he's 3-17. So now to say he's going to win 3 in a row seems like a stretch. Ryan in Florida says Bama loses by 21. Cam Ward throws 3 touchdowns. Texans throw 2 interceptions. So looks like he's confident about the Titans winning. And 0178 says Vandy rolls into Tuscaloosa at 5-0. I'm with you there. I don't really see the Vandy losing this weekend. It might be closer than the last couple games. But I think Vandy going to win pretty comfortably. Adam in Portland says crying Brian. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if Brian gets a little emotional with everything that's gone down the last couple of weeks if they win this game on Sunday.
Hey, I meant to ask Adam why he got so soft because he picked the Titans to win 3 straight on the road. That's so unlike Adam.
He says, my prediction is that we win the next 3 because they don't really matter and then don't win another game. So he's saying that they're going to get to 3-3 and then finish 3-14. What a prediction.
Wouldn't that be a roller coaster of a season?
Let's go back to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Luke is on the line wanting to talk Titans and Texans. Luke, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, do you think it's better or worse for the franchise to win this game on Sunday? Because if we go 0-4 and we start looking like we're going to be maybe a no-win team, we're almost guaranteed outside of the Giants to get the first overall. Do you think winning this game is a must-have, or do you think it is what it is?
It's a delicate balance, and that's a good question of, yes, with the way this team is constructed and how they've played, losing may be better for the long-term future of the team. But if you go 0-17 or 1-16, what does that say about your young quarterback? Like, he's got to learn to win too, and you've got to build a winning culture. So you need both. Like, yes, this team's probably not going to win that many games, but I think you do need to start to establish some winning in this organization, especially with your first overall pick quarterback.
All righty, good answer.
Thanks for the call, Luke. Brian says my bold prediction is the Titans lose by at least 23. So maybe we've got people on the other side. I think the Titans need a win. Like that whole locker room, that whole organization needs a win. And especially if it came at Houston, maybe that does something for morale. I'm not saying the season's getting turned around by any means, but this team needs a win. Maybe it can come this weekend against the Texans team that, again, statistically has been the worst offense in football through the first 3 weeks.
You want a bold prediction? I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you want a bold prediction. How about if the Titans lose this game, Brian Callahan's fired? Because Amy doesn't like losing to Houston, especially in Houston.
Yeah, we've gone through this, that like it feels like there are exit ramps for Amy Adams Strunk to take on Brian Callahan. You're going down this 0-3 highway right now. I think a loss to the Texans, that's an exit ramp. I think a loss to the Patriots is an easy one, and the bye week. If he's going to get fired, I think that's probably the 3 most likely weeks that you see him gone. I don't see them firing him after this game. And maybe that's giving Amy Adams Strunk and this ownership group too much credit, but the fact that he handed off play calling, I think that buys him a month. Like, I think they're going to give him a month to try and figure this out. Now, if it's an outright disaster and they lose 45-0 on Sunday and Brian Callahan still looks like he has no idea what he's doing, then, there are special circumstances, but I don't see him getting fired after this week.
If it's not this week, it would be after the Patriots week if you lose that game, especially if you get blown out.
Yeah.
But this move can buy him a little time. It seems like one of those last-ditch Hail Mary type deals in which he's given up play calling, so he's not the human meat shield anymore.
Dustin from Hopkinsville, Kentucky says he's going to cry whether they lose or not. Please don't beat the Texans and Pats. Please don't give Amy that hope. I mean, this team's got to win games at some point. Like, I get you want to have as high a pick as possible, but you don't want to go 0-17. Like, what does that do for your locker room, your culture, and for Cam Ward? Like, this dude's not used to losing 17 games, and the confidence, even if he is playing well, like, the confidence has to drop if you're losing week after week after week. You need a win, and this team's got to be desperate for a win on Sunday.
And you start to lose faith in the coaching staff. You start to lose pieces in upper management and all those different things. But I was telling you before we got on the air today that I have a month off before I go to my next Titans game. And when I do, it'll be that Patriots game.
Right.
And honestly, like, admittedly, I'm a Titans fan, but on that day, I might just sit back and just watch chaos unfold.
Yeah, it's not been good. It has not been good. And the Titans, they need a win for the fan base, the coaching staff, the players. Everybody needs a win, especially with the way these three have looked to start the year. There's a chance. Again, this offense for the Texans has been bad through the first 3 weeks. They've scored, 38 points in their first 3 games?
Yeah, that seems about right. I can double check.
It's bad. The Lions scored 38 on Monday. So, the Texans have not been able to score points, and it's looking like they're going to be without their best cornerback in Derek Stingley. So, if the Titans can somehow find a way to protect Cam Ward, maybe this is the game they finally get things going and get a win.
38 points per game so far for the Texans through 3, which is quick math, a little over 12.
12.7.
Which is actually, I think, worse than the Titans.
It is. Yes, It's the worst in the league. The Texans have scored the least amount of points in the National Football League this year. Craig says Houston is Amy's only home game of the year. You better win it, Callie. It's pretty funny. 3337 says, I wish Titans fans would tighten up. I'm tired of loser fans who don't want to win. Yeah, I mean, it's like, as much as the draft pick matters, it does. But you're probably not going to win a whole lot of games. You need to win the ones that you can win, because 0-17, 1-16 doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't. 615-737-1025. Great stuff on the phone lines today. Lots of good interaction about this Titans-Texans game coming up on Sunday. Did want to mention, we got the Ryder Cup on in studio here, making this sports weekend even better than it even could be with all the football we've got. Slow start for the Americans so far. Justin Thomas didn't look good this weekend or this morning, but the afternoon slate is off. You got a Scotty Scheffler and JJ Spawn team. That's a fun one to watch. Scotty needs to help the Americans out here as they get off in these afternoon matches. Right now, Europe leading the Americans 3-1.
Put on the cape, Scotty. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean,
put on the cape.
In terms of multi-screen viewing, this might be the biggest weekend of the year.
And then you got your Detroit Tigers that the season is new again, right?
Right, that's true.
Hope.
The season's back on. They won last night.
The season's back on.
For the first time in almost 2 weeks, the Tigers got a win. So the season's back on. Somehow they could clinch a playoff spot tonight. Like, it's crazy to think that they had lost 8 straight games and they could be popping champagne in the clubhouse tonight if things work out the way that they need it to, which would be a Tigers win and an Astros loss. So anyway,
there you go.
Yes, lots of things to watch this weekend. College football tomorrow. Again, the main events, Penn State, Oregon, and Alabama, Georgia at 6:30. But plenty to watch throughout the day. Again, the Ryder Cup's going to be going on all day tomorrow. You've got Vanderbilt, Utah State in the early window. You got Tennessee, Mississippi State. You got Ole Miss, LSU. You got Auburn, Texas A&M. No shortage of football and sports to watch this weekend. And not even just the Tigers, like the MLB playoff picture is coming down. This is the last series of the year. Lots in the AL that needs to be sorted out. The Yankees and Blue Jays in a title race for the AL East. The Mets trying to hold on to the last wild card spot over the Reds and the Diamondbacks. And I know we've got TD and Willie. They're trying to hold on with the Mets. Me and Joe Rexroad and Derek Mason are trying to hold on for our Tigers. So lots to watch this weekend. We will be back on Monday to recap all of it. Hope you'll join us. Going to be plenty to talk about, win or lose for the Titans on Monday. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. Hope you have a great weekend. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.